Greetings, sorry for the mess. Like Kiev, blackouts, no power for 14 hours per day. Heating issues also sometimes in buildings like mine, so I'm still sick. So basically, what I'd like to share with you about my recent experience with Rust. At a simple level, when you start working with it, when you just write simple things, I wouldn't say that this is much more complicated than other popular programming languages. It's more or less comparable. The only difference that there is, yes, very notorious borrow checker, strict rules about references in particular, and so on. So what's the purpose of it? Just to protect you kind of from yourself. Because in C, for example, C++, we don't have such strict rules, and this is why you may have an unpredicted runtime behavior eventually, and bugs which may be tried to catch. So if you don't use unsafe Rust, you are more or less safe, but you pay, yes, for this. You need to learn it, you need to understand, but if even we consider it separately from Rust, such rules are pretty good actually to follow. Maybe not 100, but like 99, I don't know, 99%. Yes, it's better to follow such rules. It instills good habits into you, your mind. So like even if you stop using Rust, for example, after some time, you can apply such ideas, principles into other programming languages. Generally, it makes you a much better programmer, as to me. The same thing I remember I experienced in Go when I started working with it, that it turned out to be that this language is much more low level than Python, for example. And with Python, just a lot of magic, yes, high level libraries and so on. You don't even need to understand what GVT token is, like encoding, decoding, and so on. You don't even think about this. In Rust, you need really to understand all of it to in Go, yeah, delve into it and so on. And in Rust, it's even more. So generally, from my own perspective, I wouldn't say that if you don't use traits, especially in a conjunction combination with asynchronous multi-threading and so on, like Tokyo, for example, I wouldn't say that you are gonna run into a lot of troubles from my own perspective and point of view. But yes, you need to master yield like borrow checker, need to understand how it works and so on. Nowadays, it's actually much easier because you have a lot of clues in your IDEs, whatever you use, like Visual Studio Code or JetBrains IDEs, something else. They help you a lot. They may have like some embedded chatbots like Copilot, for example. In JetBrains, I know they use some like their own solutions. They can help you also, like you can ask ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you prefer. They also help you with it, so I don't see it as a big issue. But I'm talking from my own perspective as a guy who's always been excited about it, passionate about it, who's always strived to understand better, to understand, comprehend everything what's happening there. So from a perspective of there are quite a lot of such developers, like in any profession, who don't want to understand anything, like who want to know shit, nothing. They're not interested in it. They have a job, it works somehow. Yes, code just works somehow. From a business perspective, it's also good code. Code works somehow. The code works somehow, brings you fruit, brings you money, so on. Everything is fantastic. Everyone is happy until we have some issues with this, either performance issues and so on. In this year, I remember I needed to optimize like a lot of interesting cases, like just n+1 problem when one page, for example, loaded for 1 minute, database load was 100% and so on, but such like problems, they were so basic. Like you have a loop and you call your database in a loop hello n+1. So yes, for a typical developer, Rust may be just hell, actually. But the same I would say now about golang, for example. Even though the language itself is super simple, but it just coerces you to learn. Coerces probably, yeah, coerces you to learn a lot of new things, actually, to delve into like low level stuff and so on. So yes, for a typical developer's monkeys, I wouldn't recommend it, actually. Yes, neither Go nor Rust. For them, probably yes, like Python, like TypeScript, even like, yeah, such solutions. But I think JavaScript is their like favorite language, because you can do whatever you want there. It works somehow, like even with runtime errors. So again, like everyone is happy, business is happy, and so on. But if you're okay, if you're not afraid of like delving into Rust a little bit until you use like traits in a conjunction with asynchronous multi-threading Tokyo stuff, for example, with Exum, Actix, or like other frameworks you use, everything is fine. But when you just start, when, for example, you'd like to use, and I mean, not just to call your functions directly, but when you'd like to start using, for example, traits, and you have a multi-threading environment, Tokyo, for example, yes, asynchronous multi-threading, all of it, Rust becomes quite tricky. And you're gonna spend a lot of time, especially the first time, when you're doing this, you're gonna spend a lot of time to just figuring it out, how to make it work, yes, how to survive. But the good news is, when you finally like make it work, it's not just it works somehow, it will work like almost 100% reliable. You can rely on this code, and it's really so hard and painful only the first time. Second time will be much easier, third time is even easier. You know how it works in life. The first time is the most painful, challenging, emotional, and so on. So just, yeah, be ready that if you're gonna use traits with Tokyo, for example, asynchronous and so on, it's gonna be hard. So you need to be ready to spend a lot of time and energy on this. But it's worth it, because you can build great architectures like hexagonal architecture, for example, dependency injection, and so on. But again, you're not supposed to do this. You can confine yourself with simple stuff. I mean, just call your functions like database, whatever you use directly, so no traits, no pain. It's also fine, because like realistically, how many times have you had situations in your life when you used Postgres, for example, and you decided, wow, Postgres sucks, yeah, let's use MongoDB, I don't know, or ScyllaDB, or like what else popular, I don't know, Neo4j, or what it's like, yeah, the graph database. Or you used Exum, and like you decide Exum sucks, yeah, we're using now Actix, like, or I don't know, tonic web, yeah, let's just do it this way. I don't think, yes, a lot of projects realistically really need it. So you can, without any hesitations, just use no traits. If you need Tokyo, for example, or alternatives runtimes, yeah, when you have multi-threading asynchronous environment, just yes, like make it simple. It's also fine. It also works. But yes, just be ready. Yes, you'll need to comprehend a lot of stuff, need to think either you need to use Arc, or if you'd like to have Arc actually is, yes, to be unbiased, if you just use a standard recommended approach, if you just use Arc everywhere, everything will be more or less fine. No problems at all. And sometimes you may need mutex as well for some cases actually. If you need a mutable reference in your database, some database methods like repository, I mean generally, yeah. So you may need to use mutex as well. But basically, yeah, like you can just use Arc everywhere. It's a standard recommended approach. It's easy. So yeah, I need to admit, yeah, that again, like if you don't want to reinvent the wheel, if you just follow the standard path, you just use Arc, and again, like it will be much easier. You won't repeat my path, my pain with it. But because I always think about like maximum performance, generally the best way to do this, squeezing everything out of it, like speed and whatever, it will be much harder, so you will need to look for alternative approaches, for example, to use clone in some cases, or like static, or like, yes, something else may exist. Why not? Something like, I don't know, or forgot to mention. So yes, just to summarize, if you just don't use traits, if you use direct like function calls, it's also totally fine and acceptable. Like you'll have no pain in this with it. But if you'd like to use traits with Tokyo, for example, with Exum or Actix or whatever you use, yes, you need to decide either you use Arc with some little but still like performance penalties, or you'd like also to look for alternative approaches which may be faster, generally better, without or with less at least overheads, and so on. So yes, Rust is a great language. And if you are a kind of a developer who would like to delve into it, to comprehend the unknown and so on, you'll be happy with it. Yes, you'll spend initially a lot of time, efforts, but you'll do it. I believe in you guys. But if you are just a kind of a developer who just does their job, I mean, it's totally fine. There are a lot of such guys. I mean, it's totally fine. Just, yes, to be realistic, Go, even Go, maybe not the best language for you. And definitely Rust wouldn't be the best language for you, because even like to create, make it work somehow, like any application, will be just hell for you. So yeah, you could consider simpler languages from this perspective. I'm not such a big specialist in Java, but I assume that Java isn't easy itself, because it also has some quite strict runtime, I mean compilation checks. Yes, runtime checks probably and so on. It's not like Go, when you can just crash your application easily if you don't check if it's nil or not, if you use a pointer for something, for example. No. And Java is also hard, I think, for such guys. So like most probably yes. Node.js, the most popular solution for startups, and now I understand why, because there are a lot of such developers, yes. Node.js, Python, but Python, like I don't think that somebody is writing new projects in Python. I mean backend generally projects. I don't mean machine learning, so-called AI and so on. No, I don't think so. So yes, if it's a startup, I think you have only one while writable option. Yes, it's like Node.js, either TypeScript or even JavaScript. Why not? Everything works somehow. It's great. About other available options, Ruby isn't popular nowadays at all. So yes, I think Node.js, or like Bun, for example, yes, some other alternative runtimes probably. more like 99% it will be Node.js, is your only viable solution, real solution. Yes, that's it. So neither Rust, no, or Go for everyone, definitely. The same about C, C++, and Zig. Yes, need to keep it in mind, because I can talk about Rust from my own perspective as a guy who always strives to comprehend the unknown, but not everyone is like this. So yes, that's my personal opinion about it. It's possible to master, it's possible to start working with this language, but initially you'll need to invest a lot of time and efforts. If you are a C, C++ developer, for example, it probably will be much easier for you, but still you'll need to comprehend like borrow checkers, strong like compilation checks, compile time checks probably, yes, and so on. Just yes, keep it in mind.